Hey, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Buffalo, New York. It's been a couple of years since I was here, and in that first video, we checked out a couple of places that were on the verge of some major transformations. The abandoned Perry projects were about to be demolished, and that amazing central terminal building and complex had just started some major renovations. So since I'm back in the area, I thought I would take a couple minutes, check out both of those places, see how things actually are and how they've been progressing a couple years later, as well as add another stop in there that ties into the one of the other places in the first video, which I'll link to up here somewhere, wherever it goes. But yeah, I'm, as you saw, right outside the KeyBank Arena where the Buffalo Sabres play, actually right along Perry Street here, just a few blocks down from the former site of the abandoned Perry projects. So why don't we take a quick minute, see how the Perry projects looked a couple of years ago, and then let's see how they look now. So yeah, let's get the show on the road. So if you remember, this is exactly where I parked and started the first video. We walked straight in through here and started exploring those places. And now they've done even more than I realized they had done. I mean, they've done this in 2 years, torn down all of those places and put up all of these. But I was reading this morning, and yeah, here it is right here, that they have already let people, I think, sign leases. I think they're leasing these out. Maybe they sold them, but people are already living here. You can see straight ahead the KeyBank Arena where we just were. But look at this. We walked down right through here in between this. This was that like adult medical facilities building. I mean, they have just completely transformed this place. I think a lot of you guys, if I remember right, were leaving comments on the first video about how this isn't the big improvement that I thought it was going to be. So again, if that's the case, let me know, because this seems good on the surface. I just want to come down here and see. Last I saw, there were a couple of these abandoned apartments left on the other side here, but they might have been torn down. But this is Perry Street, which we were just on, and now it looks like, nope, they're all gone. Wow. So the KeyBank Arena is straight down there. This is crazy. So there is a coffee shop down around the corner here. I was up at 4 a.m. this morning. I've already had way too much coffee, and I didn't really plan that into my planning today, but there's a coffee shop around the corner here I was going to go run into, see if I can get something and also talk to them a little bit if someone's up for chatting. I think it's called Underground Coffee, something like that. So let's go check it out. And I should probably get out of the middle of the road. All right, I had to come outside because they had very loud, really good, but very loud music playing. If you are ever in this area, come and check out, it's an Underground Coffee. I forgot my tripod, but if you look right there, you can see the updated Perry projects. So I talked to a couple workers in there and no one really knows for sure what the expected outcome is or impact on the community. I was kind of expecting there to be more of a strong opinion one way or the other, but I guess because they don't live around this part of town, maybe it won't be as impacted. I'm assuming this has to be a positive thing. But okay, let me finish up this coffee real quick and then let's go to the next stop on our little tour thing here that is new, but it's related to a place we went to in the first video. And I think it's super cool and I'm really excited to check it out. So let's go and do that. So if you remember in the first video, we quickly took a look at the Darwin D. Martin house, which was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. So Darwin Martin was also the secretary for the Larkin Soap Company. And where we are now is actually called Larkin Square. It's where the Larkin Soap Company was originally based here in Buffalo. And so we've got these various buildings and old factories and stuff there. But up here, this used to be until 15-ish years ago. This square was run down, and to be honest, if you look at old images of this area on Google Maps from 15, 20 years ago, this had a very strong Brownsville, Pennsylvania vibe to it. But Buffalo has since revitalized this area. They hold food truck events and different events here at this square. I think there's a couple of restaurants here, but they've really turned this whole area around. But the Larkin Soap Company, where Darwin Martin was the secretary, started expanding and all that. One of his first jobs as secretary was to find someone to build and design a new admin building. And so Darwin's brother actually knew Frank Lloyd Wright in Chicago at the time. This was around 1900 or so, and recommended him to Darwin, who then recommended him to Larkin, whatever his first name is, Mr. Larkin, let's call him that. And so even though Frank Lloyd Wright was still a relatively unknown name at the time, he was awarded the opportunity to design what became the Larkin Admin Building. And that actually sat right here. And I wish this fence wasn't here because I want to be on both sides of this street to show you a couple different things. But I will either try to find a video or not. I'll try to find a couple pictures. Maybe I'll link to the video below where someone has done a rendering of the place. But the building was just incredibly cool. And actually there's a little plaque up here that I can show you what the building looked like. But it was very advanced for the time. It had built-in furniture, which you see in a lot of his stuff, and a few other things. But we'll talk about this in just a sec. But this was the edge of the footprint of the building. And let's see if yeah, here we go. So this will help a little bit. So this is the admin building here. We're standing sort of behind here on the corner. Wait. Oh, no, I was totally wrong. Okay, so it's this parking lot. So I was thinking this was here, but I'm off. So there we go. But look how cool that building is. And so that was built around the turn of the century and the 18th to 19th century. So around 1900, I think. And around the same time, because the Larkin Soap Company was so successful and therefore Darwin Martin was so successful and really enjoyed Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture, he actually commissioned him at the same time to design his house, which we saw last time. That's over kind of north-ish of here. As the Larkin Soap Company started to go into decline, eventually with the Great Depression and all of that went out of business, Buffalo could not find a buyer for the building. And so they assessed it something like $250,000, 240,000, I think. But they couldn't get any bids over like 60 or 50 grand, I think, something like that. They even put out a $6,000 ad campaign to try to attract buyers, which brought in nobody. And they ultimately sold the building after all that for $5,000 to a company that was going to demolish it and put up a truck stop. As you can see, a truck stop never materialized. The city at the time saw tax dollars in a revenue stream from the truck stop. And despite pushback, let's see, does this say anything about that? Yeah, so the demolition of the Larkin Admin Building is viewed by architectural historians as the most significant loss of an architectural icon in the history of North America. So they demolished it in 1950. However, you can see these, and they call them patios, are all that's left of the building. And these make up, as we see here, sort of they outline the footprint of the place. And so there's a foundation, I believe, that keeps these maintained, but this is the original foundation to that building. If we see over here, on the other side, that actually was demolished. So for years, until 2015, I believe, there was just this. But then that foundation built what they called a ghost pier over there. And so it's to honor the structure without trying to replicate it. And so I believe it's etched glass over there. So let's go and take a look at it real quick. I'm hoping I can sneak through here at some point. All right, on the other side here, you can see the Larkin Center of Commerce. And here's a really cool ghost patio. And that's where we just were over there. I'm actually not sure if these wrought iron fences are, I feel like I read that they are original to the place as well, but later me will have to confirm that. But yeah, very cool, right? And I'm not sure if these are the names of donors or the names of workers. Oh, Frank Lloyd Wright, John Larkin, Darwin D. Martin. Okay, so potentially employees. Oh, this is really cool. Oh, looks like I think it lights up too at night. Part of the design or the uniqueness or cutting edge stuff was something as simple as conference rooms, that he had dedicated space. And so my understanding is that the middle of the area was open all the way up to the top. The ceiling was glass, essentially, to let in as much light as possible. And then around the outside were sort of more of the traditional office building type things. But then, like I said, somehow he had central air in there. He had built-in furniture. He had conference rooms, something related to suspended toilet bowls or something like that. I'm going to need to try to look that up a little bit more. But yes, something cutting edge with toilets and bathrooms too. But I just thought that was a cool little thing. To kind of tie us back again to the first video in a new way. So yeah, now before it gets too hot, let's go and see what's happening with the central terminal. Well, I had been reading that they had been doing a lot of work with this building. Clearly, they are at least giving the impression they are. Not saying they're not, but they're at least giving the impression that they are. But apparently, what they are planning on doing is working out the renovations and all of that in phases. And they're working on the first phase now, which is sort of getting the asbestos cleaned up and getting the place structurally sound to be able to, hopefully they're saying, in the main concourse here, open it up partially in 2027 to be able to host events, things like that. But they said that they're doing this, like I said, in phases. It's going to cost about $300 million in total. It'll take about 10 years. But they're also doing these other two buildings down here, which were the, apparently one of these huge ones was the post office, and then one of them was baggage, I believe. But those are being handled after they get done this piece. And again, I'm not from here. I don't know the total history of the place, but supposedly they have been trying to renovate this off and on for years, and a lot of those things have fallen through. So I'm venturing to guess a lot of locals here are not holding their breath, thinking that this will actually happen, but maybe it will. So if you remember before, the guy that we talked to showed us this little side path down here. Oh, no, I can't get down there. They've got it blocked off now. All right, well, we cannot see it up close or get as nearly a detailed look at this as I had been hoping. However, I have my drone with me, so maybe I will send that up and see what type of shots we get with that. I mean, if you look, the weather is looking very ominous, so I might be in trouble anyway. But yeah, why don't we end this thing with a little bit of drone footage, and then I will see you in a minute to close things out. All right, so a little anticlimactic in terms of visuals and being able to actually do some exploring of the place, but not anticlimactic at all from the perspective of the city actually having some momentum. I think the honest answer is probably that it's likely they're going to run into some hiccups that take a little bit longer to finish this, if it gets finished at all. Let's see, I guess now I'm almost forced to come back in a couple years and check it out. I guess this is my new thing. I realize that I in no way am representing the entire city as a whole, just my little sliver that I've kind of latched onto. But there's a lot of cool stuff happening. So like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit that little bell. It'll turn on notifications. It'll let you know when I upload next. And yeah, I guess I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.